quiet night in Beverly Hills, a luxurious mansion, and then the sound of gunshot breaking the silence. Two brothers stand over the lifeless bodies of their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez. But what could drive them to commit such a brutal act? Was it revenge, greed, or something even darker lurking within their family? Today, we unravel the chilling story of the Menendez brothers. At first glance, the Menendez family seemed perfect. Jose Menendez, a powerful Hollywood executive, demanded perfection from everyone around him. Kitty, his wife, was elegant and supportive, or so it seemed, and their two sons, Eric and Lyle, appeared to be living the dream. But underneath the wealth and glamour, there was crack in the family picture. The night of August 20, 1989 became the stuff of nightmares. Jose and Kitty were found shot to death in their own home. The brothers called 911, their voice frantic, claiming they had just discovered the bodies.
Emergency?
Yes, please.
What's the problem?
Sounds,
What's the problem? What's the problem?
someone killed my parents.
Pardon me?
Someone killed my parents.
What? Who? Are they still there?
Yes.
The people...
No, no, no.
Were they shot?
Hey, man, dude.
Were they shot?
Yes,
They were shot?
yes.
102, 102, response, 722 North Elmont.
What happened? Hey, get out!
I have a hysterical person on. We're trying to get things further. Other units responding. Is the person still there?
What happened? We have units around. What happened? Who shot who?
I just came home.
You came home and found who shot?
Mom and Dad. You know what? They're still in the house. The people that did the shooting.
Get away from me. Okay. Hey, let me talk to Eric. Who is the person that was shot?
My mom and my dad.
Your mom and dad?
My mom and my dad.
Okay, hold on a second. Okay, we're on our way over there with the ambulance.
Okay, I gotta go.
But something didn't add up. Their grief felt off. And when the truth came out, it was far more twist than anyone could have imagined. The Menendez brother case is one of the most controversial family murder case in modern history, precisely because the plot of their story has so many layers that divide opinions. Here's how the twists in their story full debate and polarize people even decades later. After the funeral, the brothers begin spending their parents' $14 million fortune almost immediately. Lyle bought a Rolex, a Porsche, and even opened a restaurant in Princeton. Eric hired a tennis coach and bought an expensive sport car. Together, they took trips, stay in luxury hotel, and live extravagantly, spending over $700,000 in just a few months. Initially, the police believed the murder were the result of a mob hit due to Jose's business dealings. However, investigators began to suspect the brothers as more evidence surfaced. First, there were no signs of force entry into the home. Second, the brothers' alibi didn't fully check out. Third, their sudden spending spree didn't align with grieving sons. The turning point came when Eric confessed to his psychologist, Dr. Jerome Oziel, that he and Lyle had killed their parents. Dr. Oziel secretly recorded the session, and his mistress eventually reported this to the police. The brothers' behavior of spending spree after the funeral made people question their motive. Others say their reckless spending proved they were motivated by greed. They killed their parents because they couldn't wait to inherit the family fortune. But others say Their spending was a coping mechanism. After years of trauma and abuse, they didn't know how to deal with the freedom and the horror of what they'd done. During the trial, Eric and Lyle dropped a bombshell. They claimed they killed their parents because they feared for their life after years of sexual and physical abuse by Jose.
I was about 11.
She help you with your baths?
Yes.
And how old do you believe you were when that happened?
I was in 6th grade. I'm pretty sure I was 12.
And was that within a year of the episode you previously described at 11?
Yes.
Alan had begun thinking back to some very disturbing things he had witnessed at the Menendez house, as had cousin Diane Hernandez.
He would take their heads and push them underwater until they started panicking and needed up. He would let them up again.
Eric's testimony, he described horrifying acts of sexual abuse starting when he was a child.
Episodes with your father, what time of day did they usually occur?
At night.
Before or after dinner?
Either before or after. Usually before when he got home from work, but sometimes it would happen after.
If it were before dinner, would you still be expected to come down to dinner?
Yes, unless I was unable to.
And were there times when you were unable to eat dinner?
There was times when I was unable to come down to dinner.
Why was that?
Because I was crying too much, or I was too much of a mess and I was shaking and I couldn't.
While Lyle claimed he endured both physical and emotional abuse, often witnessing Eric's suffering, and believed they would be killed if they tried to live or expose the truth. Kitty, according to the brothers, know everything but choose to stay silent. They describe her as an alcoholic and a volatile figure who was emotionally abusive and neglectful. These divide opinions. Some believe that abuse was real. Why else would two young men kill their own parents if not out of desperation and fear? And others think it was a fabricated story to gain sympathy. The prosecution argued that there was no concrete evidence of the abuse, and it was simply a tactic to avoid the death penalty. In the first trial, 1993, the jury was split because of the abuse allegation. Some jurors believed the brothers were victims of years of torment, which pushed them to kill their parents in an act of self-defense or temporary insanity. Others felt the abuse claims were exaggerated or irrelevant, and that the murder were premeditated and cold-blooded. In the second trial, 1996, the judge limited the use of the abuse defense. Without the emotional impact of their earlier testimony, the brothers were convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to live in a prison without parole. The retrial has always been controversial. Was justice served, or were key details ignored? Decades later, people are still divided. Some see the Menendez brothers as victims, trapped in a cycle of abuse with no way out. To them, the murders were an act of desperation, a tragic ending to a lifetime of pain. Others view them as manipulative killers who fabricate a story of abuse to cover up their greed. They argue that no amount of trauma justifies premeditated murder. The truth remains murky. Were Jose and Kitty truly abusive, or were they simply strict parents who raised entitled children? Did Eric and Lyle act out of fear, or were they motivated by money?
But I do not think that anyone in their right state of mind would do what they did to their parents.
Looking at the case of the Menendez brothers is literally so heartbreaking, and I don't know how they're not out of jail. But when I tell you that if I was the people that were in their lives and I was hearing all the stories that was coming out about their parents, I would have turned into a whole different person. I would have been calling the police, CPS. I would have been calling the FBI freaking I would have been calling everybody in their mouth.
Were they victims or villains, or perhaps bots? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But be warned, this story will keep you questioning long after the video ends.